Marketer of the Day, episode 533. Rework and clarify your marketing message, refine converting language, reputation management, and more with Ken Tucker.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We're talking with Ken Tucker, and Ken is the founder of ChangeScapeWeb.com. And you know what the problem is that most businesses struggle to be found online, and ChangeScape Web builds websites that generate customers so businesses can grow and thrive. And their specialties include search engine optimization, web design, reputation management, social media marketing, lead generation, and marketing automation. So lots of fun stuff to talk about. Glad to be talking to you, Ken.
Yeah, great to talk to you, Robert.
So, I mean, with all the craziness on the internet these days, like so many things going on, so many things we need to be aware of, what's your focus lately? What's on your mind these days?
Well, really, I guess what we've been focused on is just clarity of message. I think when a lot of businesses put together a website, for example, they have a tendency to really focus on what it is that they do, and they use the language that they're accustomed to, but they don't really think about the customer problem. And so I think it's really beneficial to take a step back and really think about it from your customer's perspective. What problem do they have? How can you help them solve that problem? How can you help them guide them through the process and deliver them to an outcome that they're looking for? And so really, reworking the message that's on the homepage, and then also taking that core message and rolling it out to all of the other marketing materials and building sales funnels to support that.
Well, that's really great. And I mean, you're so right. And that's one of those, lessons where it's so simple and it's so important and it's easy to forget that it's not about the person building the website. Like if you're some company and you have some website and you might think it's really great, but what good is that unless your customers who are showing up know that they're there for a certain reason and can find what they want and all those and that you're making it simple for them, right? Because you said there that you want to guide them through the process and the outcome, and it's really easy to say, oh, I'm going to make a website with all this cool stuff and places to go and things to click on, and that makes me feel good because I did all this work. But it's like if someone shows up and they don't know what to do, they're confused, they don't think they're in the right place, then nothing else matters because they're going to leave, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you've got, 3 to 5 seconds to convey what it is that you do and get people to engage with your business and want to stick around on your website.
Super cool. And so I'm really curious about sort of like the before and after of I'm sure that these clients come to you and maybe they know there's a problem or they just know they need some kind of help, and then you work your magic and things end up super great. So do you have any interesting stories like that where some company came to you guys and they said, we need help, and you kind of worked your magic and brought your thought process into things?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I've been actually working on a lot lately is I've been pulling together a blog post that looks at one of the things that we typically do when we get started working with a business is we will do a total online presence audit. So we take a look at, what their current state is. It includes the state of the website, their SEO, their overall online presence, their reputation management, on and on and on. And so I think, one thing that really jumps out at me, specifically when you're looking at a homepage, there's not a strong, clear call to action. Too many businesses just kind of default to the contact us now or contact button up in the upper right. That really doesn't mean a whole lot. It doesn't do a whole lot. You'd be much better off to say, schedule a consultation or get a free quote or, whatever makes sense for your business. And I think, just that grunt test, as Donald Miller refers to it in StoryBrand, when somebody lands on your website, they should be able to grunt out what it is that your business does, in 3 seconds. And if they go to the website and they can't figure that out, you're probably going to lose them.
Yeah, and I imagine that maybe people or businesses, it's like they're trying to appeal to everyone, so they're not saying anything, right? They're like, ooh, I'll have that contact button because I don't know why people are coming to my site. They want they might be here for this or this or this, but you're saying, well, we need to maybe make that decision for them and say, well, we want them to schedule the consultation or get the free quote. So why not make that decision, make that clear? And so that way, once they get on our site, they're like, okay, I know right where I need to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, we're living in a world where things are changing pretty rapidly. And, it used to be that it was very common, and it still is very common, that your homepage is the entry point for people coming into your website. But, more and more, especially if you're trying to take advantage of social media, the reality is you've got to be advertising to probably get a lot of bang for the buck out of social media. Or if you're doing Google AdWords, for example, you're driving traffic, or even direct mail. You're driving traffic to a specific page that, you can be crystal clear about exactly what it is you do and exactly, what you want somebody to do when they land on that page. So when you think about, when you're building sales funnels, for example, and you're driving that traffic, it really is going to help you zero in on that clarity. And I think that is just, dramatically going to improve. And we've seen it improve conversion rates.
And it also sounds like for some of these businesses to have someone like you and your team jump in to have that outside perspective, or to kind of put the ego aside, or say, well, you have this website, but we're going to create just this Facebook campaign or this AdWords campaign, and we're going to send people to just this focused webpage with a clear call to action. Maybe people need that extra sort of methodology coming in, because otherwise they won't be able to apply it.
I think that there's a lot of merit to what you say there. It's, I mean, just thinking about my own business, sometimes I get too down into the weeds, and it's hard to step back and say, what really makes sense for somebody else. And so, I'm fortunate. I've got a team of other marketers that I work with and have masterminds with on a regular basis. And we kind of challenge each other and pick each other's brains to kind of help us all become better. But having that outside perspective, and I really think the key is you've got to think about it in terms of being as empathetic as you can for who your potential customers are, and what are they looking for? What problems do they have? What fears do they have? What are their dreams and their aspirations, and how can you help them capitalize on all of that?
I love it. See it from their perspective, meet them where they're at, and help them get to where it is that they need to go. And so how do you decide on that sort of stuff? Like when you say, well, we want that call to action to be, get this report or book this appointment, is that usually something that comes from like your client, or does your client not know when you go and you look at like competitors? Or like, how do you decide, like, if you're doing some kind of campaign, like whether to, book appointments or give away a freebie? How do you decide that sort of thing?
Well, I think it's important to realize that you can't just go from not being known to all of a sudden expecting somebody to buy from you. Now, there are certain businesses, obviously, where that journey is a lot shorter. So I think it's really important to think about the customer journey. Do you have to provide education? Do you have to build trust? To get people to the point where they're ready to give you a try and buy from you. And so, think about those things that line up best for your business. Schedule a consultation is a much better call to action than contact, because it conveys a little bit of value, right? I mean, when you schedule a consultation, that's going to be a conversation that should help somebody, clarify something in their mind, and maybe it's not to the point where they're ready to say, okay, I'm going to buy from you yet, but it's beginning that conversation, and it's at deepening that relationship. So that's what I would call, or a buy now button. If somebody is, looking for a product to purchase on your website, if you sell products, for example, that's a direct call to action. I think the other thing to think about is having a transitory call to action where people aren't ready to make that decision. They may not even want to engage with somebody from the business yet, but they're looking for some information that kind of helps them through their journey. And it could be education based. And so here's where signing up for a webinar, or downloading an ebook, or a checklist, or something like that allows you to start to build that relationship with your customer, gives you the opportunity to put them into some kind of a nurture campaign. Typically email. It still works extremely well. But you can also, remarket them on Facebook because you got them on a particular page. They were on that page. That maybe they even took a specific call to action. And so now you can actually use Facebook paid advertising as a great nurturing strategy. So I think it really depends on the nature of the business, the length of the sales cycle, how complex the sales cycle is, and just really understanding those things. So it always has to start with strategy first.
Okay, so when does the strategy come from you or come from this client? Like, do they say, well, I've heard that I need to build a list, or I've heard that I need to do retargeting, or is it usually they come to you and they're not sure and then you fill that in?
Well, we usually help to facilitate the process. We do a lot of this, and we have systems in place that we utilize. For example, I'm a master duct tape marketing certified consultant, and duct tape marketing has a marketing system that we kind of go through to help implement strategy for somebody, and so it's typically, a lot of businesses are just frustrated, honestly, that they've been trying the marketing tactic of the day, and it hasn't worked out so well for them, and they've gotten really sporadic results. And so I think some people come to the realization that they need some help. In other cases, we actually try to do a lot of education around the idea of strategy. And so as a result of that, we have some people who reach out to us to do some of that.
Well, great. And you've mentioned a couple of times now that you're certified in this thing called the duct tape marketing system. And I find that strategy kind of interesting, that, if you provide a service, it's useful to go out and figure out like what other organizations will certify you in that sort of thing. So that way you have that extra credibility tool, and that there are some customers, clients out there who are looking for other businesses who are certified in a certain thing, so that way they know what they're getting. So can you kind of explain to us what that duct tape marketing system is and sort of what that entails?
Yeah, so duct tape marketing, it's been around for probably a decade or so. There's a book called Duct Tape Marketing by John Jansch, and it's basically a system where there are you look at the total online presence, you look at the lead generation aspect, you look at how people might start to refer your business. And, we typically look at the customer journey as a marketing hourglass is the terminology we use in duct tape. The marketing hourglass is, probably the first part of it is going to be very familiar to a lot of people. It's the know, like, trust aspect of marketing, which a lot of people have talked about for years. But what duct tape does is, instead of a funnel, which is the way most people typically look at it, we see it as an hourglass, because the awareness, the know, like, trust, try, and then buy is the next step, and then repeat and refer. And so as people become customers, you kind of flip the hourglass over, and now you find out how do you get the most out of that customer relationship. Getting customers to buy from you again is a much cheaper customer acquisition strategy than going out and getting a brand new customer. Getting a customer to advocate for you and become a brand champion and refer you is kind of golden, right? So so we really try to look at, what do we need to have in place throughout that entire customer journey to align with those seven steps that people go through, the buying process, and, what kind of content do we need to have in place? So for example, a try opportunity might be, is there a low cost, low risk entry point for somebody to purchase something from you, at a low cost and certainly a low risk? It's good for you because you get an opportunity to work with them and find out if they're the right customer for you. It's good for the customer because they're not risking a whole lot. Hopefully, there's going to be value delivered for them. But if it doesn't work out, it's not like somebody went out and spent purchased a Tesla or something like that. So it's having that framework in place for me is really important. I come from the world of software development, and I used to work with a lot of large Department of Defense software projects. And when you build software and where people's lives are at stake, and you have failure in your software, people can die. So I've always looked at systems in a very important way, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of migrated to the Duct Tape marketing system, because it does give me that framework to really be able to deliver for my clients. The other thing that I've done is I'm also a StoryBrand certified guide, and I'm really interested in the idea of using story where the customer is the hero. And StoryBrand kind of flips that on its head a little bit. A lot of people talk about the brand as the hero, but StoryBrand, when we talk about heroes, we talk about the customer. The customer has a problem. They're looking for, somebody who can help them get to a better state. And so in that case, the brand becomes the role of a guide with a plan that calls them to action. And so I love the way that those two kind of dovetail together. And, those are kind of the framework and the foundational elements that I use for my consulting practice.
And that's really great, especially because it sounds like it's coming from more of a marketing perspective, as opposed to like some SEO agencies will just say like, well, you need to have a fast load time, and you have to have a SSL certificate, which is all fine things to say. But when I hear that sort of advice, it sounds like a lot of technical things are kind of like thrown in there. So it's good that you're like focused on the big picture, right? The marketing, what process someone is going to go through when they come and find and find their website. And so all this has me curious about like what's the scope of this? Where are the boundaries? Like, will you work on anyone's website, or will you say, well, we're only going to use this certain landing page system? Or if they say I have like a e-commerce setup, will you have programmers jump in there? Like, what sort of clients do you say yes to, and what do you say no to?
I tend to be a very pragmatic person, so I like to be very upfront with my customers. I mean, we do a lot of SEO work, but SEO is not necessarily the right answer for everybody. SEO can be an expensive proposition. It can take months, if not, a year or more, to really become, transformational for a business. And so, we look at, does it make sense to begin with SEO? Does it make sense to begin with a sales funnel and driving traffic and generating revenue, and then maybe reinvesting that revenue into a longer term growth strategy? It really just depends on, what the business, what their goals and objectives are. We've got to look at the economics of the deal. I mean, if you're dealing with somebody whose average customer transaction is, in the tens of dollars or the, hundreds of dollars, then that's going to dictate the solutions that we would recommend. I typically work with small businesses. That definition can be pretty loose. I'll be honest. I love working with with a lot of small companies to try to help them make the best decisions. I feel like there's a lot of noise out there and a lot of confusion. So I do spend time working with smaller businesses, but really, I guess my ideal customer would be somebody that has enough money to do a good sustained marketing program on a regular basis. And honestly, that's, going to be a couple $1,000s to $5,000, $10,000 a month.
Okay, great. So you have to be a real business, and you have to be serious about things and have somewhat of that budget to improve things. And what I'm hearing from your answer is that it sounds like it's sort of just on a case-by-case basis. Like someone can come to you and say, here's the situation, here's what we can put into this. Can you take a look and just like tell us where you can improve?
Yeah, we have some some niche areas that we do work in, but I'll be honest myself. What I love to do is I love to solve problems, and whether it's somebody who's a plumber or somebody that's in a business to business like a CPA, or a business attorney. Really, a lot of these solutions are transportable from one industry to the next. Sure, there's value in some niche expertise, but it's if you know how to do research and analysis, a lot of the techniques that you wind up utilizing are going to be very similar. So for me, I actually love being able to work in one industry, learn about how that industry works, because that gives me the ability actually to apply that across all industries. And so that's just my personal interest. So we do tend to work with a broad spectrum of small businesses, both business to consumer and business to business.
Super cool. And there's something you said in there that what was interesting is that sometimes you get really good in one niche and you figure out some of the things that work really well in there, like the best practices, or maybe they do the ads a certain way or the pricing model a certain way, and then you go into some other niche, and because you had kind of seen how it was done in niche number one, when you're in niche number two, you can kind of experiment with some of those things that other people in that niche might not have done or tried, because everyone's used to things being done in a certain way. So it sounds like that's a really interesting advantage, that you might get really used to one niche and get the lay of the land there, but then kind of apply the marketing techniques with pop-ups or retargeting or something in a wholly different niche when no one else is used to that.
Yeah, and actually, just thinking about it, just within a particular niche, for example. My undergraduate degree is in philosophy, and my master's degree is in public administration, and I kind of envisioned that I would go into something like city management. So I thought a lot about the way, philosophically, the way government is structured in the United States, where we have 50 states. Each one of these states is a potential laboratory. And, they have an opportunity to try programs out and see which ones are working the best. And in the best of all possible worlds, I guess my philosophy of government would be that there would be a promotion of the best, the best solutions up to the federal level, where the federal level can then help roll that out and maybe push that out to help other states take advantage of the great lessons learned that somebody else has developed. I kind of see marketing that same way. Every time we do something, it's a little bit of an experiment. Nobody really knows exactly what's going to work, but I think the key is, lessons learned, learning from your mistakes, learning from your successes, finding out how you can reapply that in a different situation, or the next, or even the next situation for a particular customer. So I really look at what we do, as a set of measured, controlled experiments to try and continue to optimize and deliver the best possible results.
I love it. Try your experiments, and if the experiment fails, then either you can throw it out or try again in a different way. And if it works, then you give it a little more juice. You try it on a bigger and bigger scope, and then that just might become a tool in your marketing arsenal that you figured out on your own, or figured out from what other people were doing. So that's a really cool thought process as far as just getting some of these problems here solved. So if someone was listening to our conversation today and they said, geez, this Ken guy, he knows his stuff, I want to go check him out, I want to go and reach out, how do people know that they're the right person to reach out to you, and where should they go, what should they do in order to get that communication started with you?
So our website is probably one of the best places to start. That's going to be changescapeweb.com. And, from there, we've got a pretty broad set of solutions. I'll be honest, I'm in the process of tweaking my website a little bit. It's taking me a little bit longer than I had expected, but, we really do try to practice what we preach. We've got solutions to help people build sales funnels. If that's what makes sense, we've got SEO programs. So really the best way is probably just to request a consultation with us. Another great thing we love to do is we're happy to do what we call a competitive search rank report, where we can run an analysis of 20 keyword phrases and see how you're doing against 3 of your competitors. This typically works better for local businesses where we can really zero in on a particular geographic area of service that somebody is supporting. And then I've actually written a couple of books that are on Amazon. So social media marketing for restaurants and reputation management, a guide for small businesses. So there are a couple of other places that people can go. We produce a lot of blog content. I've got a couple of other websites, St. Louis SEO for Growth.com and Colorado Springs SEO for Growth.com, where we're constantly publishing, articles about what we think are the most important things going on in the world of online marketing.
Super cool. So we got a lot of great resources for whatever your needs are. The number one most important place to go is changescopeweb.com and check
ChangeScapeWeb.
ChangeScapeWeb.com. My mistake.
Yes.
ChangeScapeWeb.com, and check out all the information you need to know there about sales funnels and SEO programs, and request that consultation so that way you can get those extra minds working on you and your business. And as Ken said, if you're a local business, that competitive search rank report is super important. I think because a lot of your competitors don't even know that you can see what you're ranking for and see what's important and see where your competitors are at. And some businesses out there are maybe a little too afraid to even look at that. And even if they do look, they might not even understand what the numbers mean, what they're looking at. So it helps just to have someone else take a quick look at you and your business and where you're at. And so that way you can then, stay competitive, stay on that cutting edge, and stay just as a better marketer than anyone else out there. So check out changescapeweb.com. Check out Colorado Springs SEO Growth, if that applies to you, or what was the other one? St. Louis SEO for?
St. Louis SEO for Growth.
For Growth. Cool. So,
yeah, stlouis.seo for growth.com and coloradosprings.seo for growth.com.
All right, so SEOforgrowth.com, and if you're in St. Louis or Colorado, that applies especially, or even check out Ken Tucker's other books on Amazon. So lots of places that you can go, and again, the number one place is changescapeweb.com, so you can know what you need to know about outranking your competitors and having the best possible website that you can for you and your business. So thanks for stopping by, Ken, and letting us in on your thought process and making us aware of kind of the mindset we need to be going into for our website, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Robert. I really enjoyed it.
Need more guests for your podcast? How about a podcast that's set up in the first place? Schedule a call with us right now by visiting doneforyoupodcasting.com.